Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Clydesdale Media Podcast. I am Kat Shear. That is Scott Schweitzer, the Clydesdale. And we wanted to get started. We were waiting for Kyle to come and we started chatting and we thought we'd have some interesting things to say. And now Kyle has joined us. So we're going to just bring him on in and we'll get started. Hey, Kyle.
What's up, guys?
How are you? We're live, just so you know.
Awesome.
Starting without you.
Great to hear.
Welcome. I'm Kat. He's Scott. Nice to meet you. I think we've chatted a little bit at some semifinals and maybe at the MFC back in 2020, but we're doing a little series here on the MFC and some notable athletes that are competing there. And we realized that we've never talked to you before. So this is hopefully going to be the, who is Kyle Ruth and what is he all about hour or so.
Cool. Sounds like a fun hour. Yeah. For us. Hopefully other people enjoy it as well. But
yeah, that's the goal. Definitely. We usually talk about our workouts first because Saturdays are always fun for everybody. So did you get a workout in?
I literally just finished it 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Quick cold shower right after, and now smoothie right here. So yeah, my wife and I, we always train together on Saturday mornings, just kind of like our ritual. So we got a little setup in the basement. It was we did a little, extensive warm-up thing, but I'm not going to go through that because that's the boring stuff. But then it was 500-meter assault runner right into 1,000-meter concept 2 bike, right into 500-meter row. Push the effort a little bit more on each erg. Rest, basically work to rest. So it was about 6 minutes rest between rounds. We did 3 sets of that. And then I stuck the concept 2 bike in the sauna because I've been messing with this concept a little bit and did 10 minutes of, pretty easy spin on the concept 2 bike in the sauna. Keep it real. It's not hot. It was like 119 instead of, like you would do if you're trying to like use sauna for,
right.
The sauna benefits. But I literally have just started that in the last few days. And because I figured out that my bike fits into the sauna. So I've been messing around with that. And that was this morning. So that was 14 minutes ago that I stepped out of the sauna there.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Good thing other things don't fit in that sauna because that could get crazy.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to put a runner in there, but
no, thank you. No running. Scott, what'd your workout look like this morning?
So Saturdays, we always start with bodybuilding.
I like it.
So we did some 21s where you do the 7 half curls, 7 half curls, 7 full curls. We did some banded curls and some butterfly glute bridges and something else I'm forgetting. And then the Metcon was 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, max calorie row, max push-ups, max lunges, max clean and jerks 2 times through.
Oof.
Yikes. What'd you do on clean and jerks?
I am still building up to that. So I did 95. RX was 135. Nice. But lunges are my Achilles heel right now. And we've done them 3 times this week. So by the time I was done with the lunges, I had no legs for the clean and jerks at all. So I'm glad I went light.
Every time I do lunges,
I was going to say, it lights people up all the time, no matter how often you do them.
My butt is sore for 3 days afterward. It's like hard to sit down to the toilet seat afterward.
We did lunges yesterday, a shit ton of them, 100 of them, weighted overhead lunges with 55, 75. And today we did something else and I was feeling all of it. And I always say, I own my own affiliate, Kyle, so I do all the programming for us. And lunges get everybody so often that I try to at least every 10 days do some lunges just to get us sort of into it. But 3 days in a week, are Christy and Patrick trying to kill you?
I wouldn't be able to walk.
Yeah, it used to be, we used to say that if you're not squatting that day, it's not really a workout at CrossFit Polaris. But now it's all of a sudden lunges all the time.
Yeah. So Kyle, Scott goes to Christy Aramo's gym. So
that's awesome.
And Christy and Patrick was your coach on Saturday, right? Today?
Yeah. He's always a coach on Saturday. Yeah. And he lit it up today.
Yeah. And awesome. Explains the lunges because that's just lunges are such an effective tool. What's your least favorite style of lunges?
All of them.
All of
So
the all of the
that's
above.
interesting. It's interesting you say that because I will often give the option of either a forward lunge or a reverse lunge, right?
Mhm.
And I don't tend to prescribe one or the other. I just give people a choice.
Yep.
The training age at my gym is super immature. Like the people that are doing CrossFit are like first 3 months, first 6 months. So we're like really growing together, which is fun. But I will tell you for myself, it depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm doing a front rack, I prefer to go into a reverse lunge. I hate back rack lunges of any style, and I would much rather do overhead than anything else. And if I'm
See,
doing overhead, I can go forward.
I'm like you. I'm like you in that I like overhead lunges.
Love them.
I hate front rack lunges. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter if it's
so
a
good.
barbell, an axle, dumbbells, kettlebells. It does not matter to me what implement I'm doing front rack lunges with. It is my least favorite. It might be my least favorite movement in the
Ever.
entirety of the sport.
Oh man. It is interesting how that works because in the middle of the workout yesterday, I was doing the overhead and I was just feeling my lats a little bit, like in the 8th or 9th round. And I was like, well, let me just put it in the back rack and see how it feels. And I did like 2 lunges in the back rack and I'm like, nope, I'd
Nope.
rather put it over my head. And people think I'm crazy. They're like, what are you doing? Like, it's way better that way. But our workout today was, and I got to take class today. Colleen was coaching for me. We did a partner workout. I go, you go. 16 total rounds, 200-meter row or run, and one bear complex, one heavy bear complex.
Ooh, I like that.
So yeah, so I did like 115 on the bear complex, and I haven't probably done a bear complex in a year and a half. I just opened my gym in January, so my fitness has like gone in the toilet.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting, like maybe 2 weeks ago, starting to work out again because I've got some coaches that are coaching for me, so now I can take my classes.
Isn't it
But I
awesome
partnered.
to be able to jump into your classes?
It's so great, and the members love it. They're like, "Wait, you're working out with us? Wait," and they just love to see it. It's really fun, and I enjoy it. And I'm able to watch my new coach's coach too. Like I can really observe,
Yeah.
what they're doing, and I can jump in when I need to. It's very very comforting for me to be in the class when someone else is coaching right now. But I got to partner with my dad in this
Oh, that's
workout. So
awesome.
my dad's 75, and he probably should use dumbbells instead of a barbell for the bear complex, but he refuses to do so. So he used the 15-pound training bar, and we used we did the bike, the erg. So we did 400 meters, and we did that. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I pushed my dad for years and years and years to get into CrossFit because we owned an affiliate from like 2011 to 2015. And I pushed my dad. It took me 3 years of just constantly talking to him to get him to start. But he bit the bullet and started doing CrossFit. I think he's 73. He's probably 72. Nice. He'd be like, Kyle, you can't remember how old I am. Well,
right.
Dad, you're 72 or 73. So like, how am I going to remember?
Whatever.
But yeah, it was great getting him in. Man, you know what's crazy to me about getting your parents in is how quickly they adapt. It's like, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I have found quite the opposite. Like they absorb this just as fast as, my kids have.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's really good about, he doesn't get up and down off the ground very easily. So even in the warm-ups, like everything has to be sort of adapted for him. Like I'll put a bar against the rig for him to do like push up to downward dog instead of on the ground, or he does spiders on a box, like a hip stretch and that kind of stuff. But yeah, he just kind of takes it in stride, and, he gets mad when I try to help him a little. He's like, I got that. I can do that. I can move my box. I'm like, Dad, just let me take care of you. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. Very rewarding. And he's been with me since day one. I think it started as just him supporting the business, and paying the membership and coming. But now I think he's hooked. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So workouts are done. That's good. We can relax now for the rest of the day. Will you do a second session, Kyle, or are you done for today?
Yeah, I'm going to do a second session later today. I usually, just because of work schedule, programming, that kind of stuff, I stack up my weekends with a double session on Saturday and Sunday, and then mostly just single sessions throughout the week. Unless I have like some random Wednesday or Thursday where I get done early, I try to throw a second session in. A lot of times my wife will be doing she does a lot of bodybuilding stuff, and she'll be out in the garage doing some bodybuilding stuff. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to come out and join you. It's a good change of pace from, getting punched in the face in a Metcon over and over and over.
Yeah.
Is it me or the bodybuilding stuff is kind of new to me since I've switched to this gym, and like it kills me.
Yeah, dude, I'm more sore from bodybuilding session. Well, with exceptions, but I'm in general more sore from a bodybuilding session than I am from a regular CrossFit session. The exception to that would be that wall ball workout from the age group semifinal, the one that was like every 2 minutes you increase.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been that sore in years and years and years since that workout, but
well, because you probably made it pretty far, right? So you're doing a lot of wall balls.
I did a lot of wall ball. I did a lot more wall ball than I normally do, and they were to 11 feet. So
yeah, that's a game changer right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about that bodybuilding stuff. It's very concentrated, right? You're focused on like one tiny little muscle, and we don't do that in CrossFit. We do all these compound movements that kind of require the assistance of all of them collectively to move. So
yeah, and we're always trying to avoid complete exhaustion, right? So like if you're doing say you're doing a chipper with 100 chest to bar pull-ups, I'm not going to take each set to complete failure, because then I'm going to have to rest way longer before I get up and do my next set. But in a bodybuilding session, like your goal is to go either to go to failure, or to go like, here's the line of failure, and to go like tap and then stop your set. Like that's really what the goal of bodybuilding is. So to me, like I think that's the advantage to adding some bodybuilding into CrossFit, because it does give you an opportunity to go closer to failure here and there.
Yeah, playing around with some different systems in your brain and your muscles too. So you have been in this sport for a very long time, or at least practicing the methodology for a very long time. Give us a little background. I know you were a collegiate swimmer.
Yep.
Still, do you hold any records still?
No. So I had this is funny that you asked this, because I actually just looked. My daughters are both on the swim team, and they're like, Dad, do you still have any state records? And I was like, I had one the last time I looked, which was like 2018 or something like that, the last time I looked. But I looked, and actually this past season, the 2022 spring season, someone broke my 100 butterfly state meet record. I had it at, I want to say it was like 48.07 for the 100 butterfly. And this guy was like 47.6, like significantly faster. So all hats off to him. Take the record. But that was the last one. That was the last one I had. It was just broken. Yeah.
What state are we talking about?
Indiana. So I swam.
Okay. Is that where you grew up too?
Yeah, I grew up in Indiana. I swam for Indiana University for 2 years, and I swam post-grad afterward as well. So I swam all the way up until I was 26, when I literally stopped swimming and like started CrossFit. It was like, done swimming, need a new competitive outlet. CrossFit, this seems awesome. And man, was it way more fun than swimming.
Right. Do you remember your first like encounter at your, like, what was the name of the box? Do you remember the workout?
So the first CrossFit workout that I ever did was before there was a box in the area. And I was the head swim coach for a team and strength and conditioning coach. And after the team was done with their strength and conditioning session, I had seen on main site a workout. It was Fran. And I was like, I want to do this. Like this looks like something that's completely, different than what I'm used to. Because at the time I was strong. Like I could back squat probably around 450, could bench 355. I don't know what my deadlift was. I rarely deadlift, but probably in the mid fours. I could run like a low 5-minute mile, and I held some state records, right? In swimming. So my opinion of my fitness was very high. And someone in one of my graduate classes was talking about CrossFit. So it got me to look at main site, and I saw Fran, and I was like, dude, this looks awesome. This looks like something I'd be really good at. First off, I couldn't even get into a front rack.
Yeah.
Like my thrusters were like this.
You're holding the bar. Yeah.
Yeah. And I rarely ever front squatted. I only ever back squatted at the time. And so like the whole motion of just being like anteriorly loaded, and man, my back was blown up by the end of the first set of 21 with 95 pounds that I was holding like this. And I didn't know how to kip. So I was only doing strict pull-ups. I did the 21 unbroken, which was a gigantic mistake. So I got done, and I think it took me 11.5 minutes. And I went on the main site and saw some of the times, because this was probably it's either 2009 or 2010. And I saw some of the times, and they were like, at that time, low threes, there were some people just under, and I was like, what?
8. Yeah.
You did this in a third, or maybe, maybe less than a third of the time that I did. So that got me.
At that point in time, though,
yeah.
did you like try to like find a video or something like I got to see that? Like what
Yeah.
does 3-minute, what does a 3-minute fan look like?
So at that time, and I think HQ still does this to some degree, but they were posting videos of like really fast times.
Okay.
And I saw someone doing a Fran. I saw kipping pull-ups. And at the time, given my strength, my strength and conditioning like glasses that I was looking at I was like,
that's cheating, right?
That's not a pull-up. That's not a pull-up, of course. now I would argue differently. But that was the way I looked at it at that point. But then after that, I just started I had a little home gym, and, like normally I would follow a powerlifting split. I did a lot of trail running. I swam a lot, obviously, because I was still a competitive swimmer. But every once in a while, if I was short on time, I'd grab a CrossFit workout. I'd get like, I'd look at it and be like, dude, I'm going to get 45 deadlifts, 45 box jumps, and 45, push-ups in the span of time, like in 20 minutes.
Right.
Versus me having to do
a whole session of all that
5x5 deadlift. And that, so I just looked at it as like a time saver, but I just did little bits of it. But it was when my wife and I moved to North Carolina in early 2011 that we wanted to seek out a box. So we'd been training in our kind of garage gym, doing our thing, one CrossFit workout a week, maybe a circuit here or there. And then the rest was, trail running, swimming, that kind of stuff. And at that point I was going to be a swim coach. I moved to North Carolina to work with Swim at Carolina. And I was like, I'm done being a competitive swimmer, but I still need a competitive outlet because I'm a very competitive person. And so I wanted a place I could do Olympic lifting. I wanted a place I could do some CrossFit. So we went and joined a box, CrossFit LKN, which we ended up taking over. So at the end of that, it was like less than a year where we ended up taking over the box and running it, and ran that all the way through, mid 2015. Wow. But I remember my first workout there too. They had their intro, and I don't know if this was the best idea to have this be the intro in hindsight, but it was 400 meter run, and then 21 pull-ups, 21 push-ups, 21 ring rows, 400 meter run, 15, 15, 15, 400 meter run, 9, 9, 9. My wife and I, we could not move our arms for a week, but yet we were still hooked and we were coming back. We could barely move.
It worked.
Yep. Yeah. So we just started. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I have a couple questions because my background is swimming too. Yeah. I swam in college at Ohio State, about 100 years before you did at Indiana. But there was no outlet for me when I retired from swimming. So I had like nothing to go to. But when I was swimming, I was so well-rounded. I could jump in and play volleyball or climb ropes, or I could do a ton of strict pull-ups. I could do all those things. How humbling was it to jump into something like Fran when you're used to being like just fit at everything? Yep. And you jump into Fran and you get humbled.
Yeah, I would say it was the thing about CrossFit is that it humbles you daily. So like that was just
no matter how good you are.
That was just my first dose of the humble pie that CrossFit serves on a daily basis. That was also what hooked me though, because like I said,
that was my next question.
I had this opinion of my fitness, right? Because like you said, I could jump in and pretty much we did rock climb. You mentioned rock climbing. We did rock climbing all the time. There was a bouldering gym 2 minutes from our house. We'd go and boulder, and I could do the stuff where you'd like spring to the next one. And it was just like those types of things were so natural. And I don't know if it was because I was a swimmer or just like, a lifelong athlete that those things, but CrossFit, I did it and was so far behind the curve. It was shocking to me. And, that just sat back here and ate at me all the time. Like, man, there's this whole domain of fitness, which you're terrible at. Now, looking at it, there's still domains of fitness I'm terrible at. I'm not the most flexible person on the face of the planet. And if you had a flexibility contest now, well, I would gladly be like, I'll sit this one out.
I totally lost train of thought. Oh, discipline. So with swimming, like, and I'm sure you were in the same way, swam before school, swam after school, did some deck work.
Yep.
Like for a sport in high school and college, you were doing it hours upon hours a day. Did that help when you went into competitive CrossFit that you had already lived that life?
I think it helped in a couple of ways. I think one, from a discipline perspective, understanding that, um, you know, the only way forward is through hard work. That's what swimming's called, like a blue collar sport, right? CrossFit's a blue collar sport too, where the only real way to get better in this sport is to put in the work. I mean, that's why there's like hard work pays off. Like it's such a good slogan for training in this sport, because and yes, I also think smart work pays off and things like that as well. But in the end, you have to do the work to get better. Like you've got to build cardiac capacity. The only way to build muscular endurance is to do things that build muscular endurance, right? And like I think swimming is very much a good example of that. But the other thing that swimming did that I think made it so that I could get into this sport quickly and adapt is because we were training all the time. I mean, we had 2-hour practice in the morning, hour and a half dry land down at the strength and conditioning facility, and then another 2 or 2.5 hour practice in the afternoon. And that was 6 days a week, right? You had your Sunday off and that was it. It made it just so that like coming into CrossFit, I was used to training 5 or 6 hours a day, so coming in, it wasn't that weird to do a 90-minute AM session and a 60-minute PM session. It almost felt like less overall work than what we were doing in the pool. Now, I think CrossFit is harder. That like the intensity in CrossFit, like there's only so much power output that you have in the water, right? Like, so I did my master's at Indiana University at the Councilman Center for Swimming Science. And one of the things that we had was this really cool tool that let you hook up a belt and you swam against it as fast as you could. And you could measure power outputs, right? And the highest power outputs would measure would be around the 550s. The sprint guys like me, the sprinters, the bigger, stronger swimmers would be about 550 to maybe 600 watts. That's like what we hold for, a 5-minute time trial on an Echo bike, right? 500 watts. So like the power output on land and in the stuff that we do in CrossFit, like things like thrusters and running and rowing, like the power outputs are just so much higher. Peak power output on the rowers closer to like 2000 or 2400 watts, right? So it's like a huge difference in terms of the demand that's placed on the body. And so part of it is like, I think swimming was almost like building this general aerobic base of training for 6 hours a day. And then it got narrowed really quickly with intensity in CrossFit, where you took it from 6 hours a day to 2.5 hours. But the intensity and power output during that 2.5 hours was just through the roof comparatively.
Yeah. And Scott and I both sort of discovered CrossFit later in life, right? I think I started when I was 40. Scott, you probably started when you were about the same age. You found it, what you said, like 26, 27.
Yeah.
Do you still have that sort of thought that we all have? Like, God, I wish I had known about this, when I was a teenager.
I realized, so part of the reason I stopped swimming is because I'm 5'11", right? And I would stand on deck and I'd be 4 to 6 inches shorter than the other guys I was racing. And I just was butting up against the fact that like biomechanically, even though I've got a pretty long wingspan. I got like a 6'2" wingspan as someone who's 5'11". Just those guys had 6'8" wingspans as people that were 6'6". And so like I was just fighting an uphill battle and was never gonna, turn the corner. Contrast that in CrossFit where it's like everybody's somewhere between 5'8" and 5'11". There's outliers, on the ends of that spectrum, but that's like where everybody kind of lives. And, I've always been a stronger athlete, I've always had a good vertical jump. I had adapted well to endurance training in the pool. So like, I could just imagine had I gotten into CrossFit at 15, as much as I got into swimming at 15, I would have had a very different trajectory. But the same is also true of all the guys that are in the like 35 to 39 division with me. Like they also didn't have access to that. And so that same group of people would have been, I feel like that same group of people would have gravitated towards this had it existed when we were younger. We just, none of us had that as an outlet, even though we were probably kind of doing CrossFit. I remember doing CrossFit-esque workouts in swimming in high school. our morning practices sometimes would be like 15 push-ups, 25 swim. On the other side, it was like 15 deck push-ups, 25. We do 500 meters of that. You'd be wrecked by the end, but like those were some of my absolute favorite practices that we ever did. And it's funny now that
And
like
everything is an interval workout.
everything. Well, isn't that where CrossFit's going now, right? Look at the games, how many intervals we had this past year, even in the masters and the individuals, all of it's all, they're starting to really figure out how to utilize intervals well to create tough tests, because intervals can be just as hard as the continuous stuff, sometimes harder.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. So when you first started, did you know right away that you wanted to compete? I mean, there was an avenue for you to do that. And clearly, you started doing the open and qualifying for regionals and things like that. Was that always on your radar from the get-go?
I got super lucky. Stars kind of aligned, right? So one, I was looking for a new competitive outlet. Two, I watched the CrossFit Games on ESPN. I don't remember which year it was. I want to say it was the year that Annie was crushing everybody on that beach Murph, right?
Mm-hmm.
The swim.
Probably 11.
Yeah, swim, pull up, push up, run. Maybe there are squats in it. The one where she was doing the squats with her hands on her knees. I remember that really, really well. But I remember watching that and being like, man, I would kill to compete in this, right? Like I would love this. Now, granted, then I watched some of the subsequent events and I was like, oh, okay. So it's not just swim and body weight stuff. There's a lot more to it. So like that was a big thing. But the thing that I was so lucky for, the gym that I started at had a guy named Preston Austin, probably not someone that you guys know, but he had won a sectional. So if you remember way back in CrossFit history, right? Before the open regional games pathway was a sectional, like regional games kind of pathway, right?
Yep.
And Preston had won a sectional. And I think maybe that may have qualified him for the games. I don't remember if the pathway there was another step before he went to the games back then. But his work wouldn't let him out to go to the CrossFit Games. Yes.
Oh no.
But the gym that I started at, that was the year after he had won sectionals. And he saw me do that intro workout that I was telling you about. And after I got done with it, because I did the strict pull-ups unbroken, and he saw that and was like, hey, you want to be my training partner? And I was like, I've never done CrossFit in my life. Like, I don't know how to snatch. I don't know. I've never done a muscle up. But he was like, dude, I'll teach you all this stuff. And literally he like took me under his wing and I just trained with him. And he kept telling me, he's like, hey, if you keep doing that, you're going to qualify for regionals next year. You keep doing it like this, you'll qualify for regionals. And I was like,
Nice.
I don't know what regionals is, but I'll just keep following your advice because I keep getting better. And I keep getting closer to you. And that was the thing. Like at that time, I was just trying to chase him. But I got so lucky that I had that kind of tutelage starting out. And then I also got lucky that CrossFit took 60 people to regionals that first year. I think I finished like 52nd in the open. But I had such good guidance through the open where he was like, there was a 17-minute AMRAP in that 2012 open that I did. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go out hard, all the stuff unbroken. He's like, whoa.
Slow your roll.
Slow down. So I just got super lucky that I had, great guidance from someone who'd been he had been doing CrossFit since like 2007. So at that point, he was like 5 years in and very good, very accomplished. And it was easy for me just to look up to him and to have someone right there to chase. Because like I said, I'm a competitor, but even more than a competitor, I'm a racer. Like that's why I swam. And I'm sure that that's why you swam too, right? It wasn't because you loved the practice. It's because you love to get up on the blocks and race someone. And when your hand touches first, you won. And that's one of the things I liked about CrossFit. You either lifted more, you cross the line first, or you got more reps. And it was so quantifiable and easy for me to wrap my head around. And you could race. And being able to race Preston on a daily basis just pushed me so hard when I started. It was such a great introduction to the sport.
Do you know where he is now? What is he doing?
Yeah, he was, I talked to him early last year, and he was still coaching at a gym in North Carolina, but he also owns a fly fishing business, which
Fun.
he's a fly fishing tour guide, which that was always like he always said, when I'm done with this, that's what I'm going to do. And so he's out there doing it, which is awesome.
That's really cool. So how did you end up in Alpharetta?
Okay. So circa 2013, we're a couple years into owning our affiliate.
Are you still coaching swimming at this time too? Or are you
No.
all in
So
on the affiliate?
when we started our affiliate, I finished out that season, and it was just clear that like swimming up to that point had been my passion, but like it had only been my passion because, like we said, I didn't even know CrossFit existed. And as soon as I did this, I was like, oh, this is better. I want to do this.
New passion.
Yep. New passion. And I'm the kind of person that when I find something that I like, it's like, we go all in. Same. Right?
Yeah.
100% in. So I had been, exploring a lot of the certifications at the time. So I'd done which back then was the OPT CCP, had gone through that route. I've been, going around and doing a lot of the CrossFit stuff, the CrossFit endurance. This was like way pre Hinshaw kind of stuff. Yeah. CrossFit kettlebell,
did you do football, CrossFit football?
No, I never did do CrossFit football, but I did a lot of them.
What was that?
Hey, you know what? It turned into like power athlete or something. I guess.
That. Yeah.
Which there's still a lot of huge following for that. It's just definitely not CrossFit anymore. If you you catch my drift. But yeah, I've been seeking out all these certifications, and I met Max Elhag, the owner of Training Think Tank. And he had been coaching a lot of the athletes that I was competing against in the Mid-Atlantic.
How did you meet him? What was that like?
This is so odd. His roommate in college, his older brother went to my gym.
Okay. In North Carolina?
In North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes. Super random. But he kept telling, I'd see his programming and I'm like, man, this is great programming. Who writes this? Max. I'm like, okay, cool. Like someday you'll have to introduce me.
So wait, so this guy was going to your gym, but he was like an open gym guy.
Yeah, he was an open
Max's
gym guy.
Programming. Yep. Got it. Okay.
And then I was talking to another guy who I competed with, who had, he'd always finished 1 or 2 spots ahead of me at regional, and I saw he had a training blog. This is back in the day of like public facing training blog, right?
On a piece of paper,
right? And I was looking at his training blog. I'm like, man, this is great. Like this stuff is so well written for the sport, for training for the sport. Who does your programming? Max. And then I would find people, John Zavechniaks, which back then he was a perennial regional guy. Now, long moved on since, but I'd found his training blog. I'm like, God, this is great. And I talked to John when I went to regionals that year. So it was 2013 regional. I was like, hey man, I love the program that you put up on your blog. Who writes that? Oh, Max. And I'm like, okay, someone has to introduce me to this guy. So I reached out to Jamin, the guy that went to my gym, who's Max's
person,
the brother of Max's roommate, right? And I was like, you got to connect me. And this was actually before the 100s workout at the 2013 regional. And I was petrified of that workout because it's the only one that I couldn't finish in training. And I reached out to Max and I was like, hey, give me some advice on how to approach this workout because I'm freaking out. So he didn't know me from anybody else. All he knew is that I was the guy that owned the gym that his roommate's brother
went to. Yeah.
Right. And he was coaching people that I was competing with and was beating because I think I was in like second at that point. Right. And I was like, can you give me some advice? And dude, he laid out a strategy that was like, break this into 5s, do this. How, when you tested it, how is this? And it was the most thought out and analytical approach to strategy that I'd ever seen. And, I'd been involved in swimming for a long time. We had strategies, through the roof for every event, whether even the 50 where it was just go, there were strategies to the 50. And I saw it and I was like, man, I need to get access to some of this. And I implemented his strategy and I was 2 dumbbell snatches away from finishing it, where before I was like 30 dumbbell snatches away from finishing it. And so afterward, I was like, hey, I want to hire you as a coach. He's like, hey, I've got a seminar coming up in 4 weeks. Why don't you come out there? When you're out here, I'll run an assessment. I'll take you through this stuff and then we can get going. So I went out for the seminar and just listening to him talk about his approach to training, how he thinks about training, I was hooked. I was like, this is my coach. And he took me through an assessment. He started coaching me. From our discussions, when he left OPT and started doing his own thing, he reached out like 2 weeks later and was like, hey, I want to hire you as a coach to start bringing on remote coaching and programming clients. That was like August, September 2013. And so I started bringing on, because he had such a demand. Obviously, he had such a demand, right? Everyone that I would talk to was coached by Max, and he had too much demand. So I started working for a training think tank while we owned our affiliate. I did that for 2013, 2014, 2015. Then when we made the decision, we got into a really tight spot with our lease with our affiliate, where we had been looking for a new space, and there was some clause in our lease. I'm obviously not a real estate lawyer. And yeah, so we got in a really tight spot with our lease, and we had to find a new building in like 5 days. And it was there where we were in Huntersville, North Carolina. There was nothing, like literally nothing that we could move the gym to a close enough place that all of our members would stay and all that. So we ended up just making the decision like, hey, we're going to close the gym. We'll sell the equipment to the members because they all wanted it. And we did that. And at that point it was like, all right, it's time to go. So we found a house and took that money and moved to Alpharetta and started being here with Training Think Tank. That was like August 2015.
So just stepping back in your story just a little bit, you kind of bragged about being a racer in swimming, right?
Yeah.
That's what you loved, is being the racer. Then you talked to us about, well, I did the pull-ups unbroken and that's the mentality of a racer, right? You do what you have to do. So when you find Max that has all these elaborate strategies, was that the missing piece to the puzzle?
I don't know. I still don't feel like I found the missing piece to the puzzle yet. I've never stood on a games podium. I've never even gotten to qualify for the games as an individual. So, I still feel like there's many missing pieces to the puzzle for me, but that was definitely a huge missing piece in my CrossFit game, right? Like, take the 2013 regional as an example. Jackie is the racer's dream, right? I won Jackie.
Love that workout.
Right. But then you take a longer workout where it requires more braking strategy, like the chipper, the handstand push-up. It was like double unders, handstand push-ups, toes to bar, axle shoulder to heaven, that stupid axle front rack walking lunge. That thing.
Yes, no bueno.
I was like 27th in that, right? And like I did 2 biggest sets to open the handstand push-ups. I tried to do the toes to bar unbroken. 40 toes to bar in that workout unbroken. Yeah, like what were you thinking? Like, yes, that was a huge piece for me to be a better long workout athlete. But yeah, there's still a lot missing, I think.
Well, when you're a swimmer, unless you're an IMer, right? Like if you're a butterflyer, you're up against other butterflyers. You're doing one movement and it's just you race and whoever wins.
Absolutely.
In CrossFit, there could be 5 movements. And so winning that movement doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's how you transition from this movement to that movement. And there's so much more strategy. And I think that is the hardest thing for 4 years. Because I started CrossFit in 2011. My first 5 years, I went out hot on every workout.
Yep.
9 years. Yep. I still do. I know I'm going to do it and I still do it. I know I shouldn't.
You want to know one of my secret pieces to the puzzle? I shouldn't give this away, but when I shift into comp prep mode, right? Or 4 weeks out from an event, I start approaching every workout like that. I go out as hot as I can and blow up. And if I'm testing the workouts, the first time I'm testing it, I test it like I'm Prefontaine, right?
That's a great idea.
the only pace is a suicide pace. And then I know like what I can or can't do, because what I used to do is I'd test it conservatively, and then you'd have to do it again because you get done and you're like, oh, well, I probably could have pushed harder here and I could have. No, I test them and I let it go and I blow up and I learn where the bottlenecks are for me. that way, if I go and when I go do the event on game day, I have a much better understanding of where I've got to break and things like that. Plus, I feel like it does something to your body, like making yourself go out hard. I feel like subsequent to that, after that, there's always these adaptations where I just feel better in workouts from doing it.
Right.
Like
And then
there's
and then
pros
if
and
you
cons.
accidentally do it, if you accidentally do it at the competition, at least you've been there, done that, and your body's kind of like, oh, I know what this
And
feels
you
like.
might be able to
You
recover
did it
from it.
again.
You know, I get to see Travis train here in Alpharetta all the time. And he is the master of blowing up and recovering from it. And like,
Mhm.
you got to learn from that, right? If you watch someone who's at his level do that all the time, you're like, man, maybe I should train to do this to some degree, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I like
really
that.
a cool perspective.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that next time. I'm
Not all
6
the
weeks
time.
out.
Not
Yeah.
all the time. That's the one caveat.
So you're 4 weeks out from MFC, right? We're less than
Yeah.
that. 4
I,
weeks, 3
I
weeks.
think we might be 3.
You won MFC in 2020, correct?
Yes, I did. That was
So
so much fun.
and then Master Fitness Collective, for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, October 21st, 22nd, 23rd. One caveat, I am one of the event directors.
Oh.
So I know all the workouts already. And I'm one of the head judges there. So we'll just get that out of the way first, but we can
Okay.
still talk about it a little bit. Some of the workouts have been released. Right now, you took a break in 2021. You didn't do MFC in 2021, correct? Because you had just
No,
come
it
off
was,
the games.
yeah, it was like right after they did it in early September,
Oh
and
yeah,
I had
it's
just
like Labor Day
finished,
weekend.
and I had just finished competing at the games with the TTT team, and honestly, I was tired.
I
Like,
bet.
I
bet.
tried to start training right when I got back from the games, and like I got really sick.
Mm.
So it was very clear that my body was like, hey, dude, take a break. I was like, all right, I'll listen. Like, I got you.
Yeah.
You need a break after that. I actually love the timing of this year. You know, I saw on the roster that some of the guys that were at the 35 to 39 games are there because there was enough time between the games and MFC for people to recover a bit and kind of build their competitive fire up. So I am super excited to go compete with them. Cause I coached my good friend, Julian Cerna, who was in the 35 to 39 at the game. So I was with those guys, when you're coaching in one of the masters divisions, it's just 10 people.
Yeah,
so you're
you
with
get to be
them
there.
the entire time. So I'm super excited to go out and throw down with these guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was just 10 people this year because you were 13th.
Yep.
I mean, how did that feel? Coming off of a Wadapalooza win, like super high, this is your year kind of a thing. How do you sort of reconcile that in your brain?
Well, I've always been a better in-person live event competitor than I have been a qualifier athlete. Maybe that's the racer in me. Just the fact that, when I'm next to someone, it's much easier for me to push the go button than when I'm alone. Now, with that being said, this is the best I've ever done in a qualifier. Like, I've never finished 13th in an online qualifier of that, like a CrossFit level online qualifier. Even when I was qualifying for regionals and they were taking 20, I'd be like 14th, 16th, 17th, right? So like, this is definitely the best I'd ever done. And I had to take a step back and recognize that. But this is the most I'd ever poured into a season, I think, since I started, with 10 or 11 years in. So it was definitely a hard pill to swallow. But I also, looking back at it, like, I did absolutely everything I could to qualify. There were no stones left unturned. Like, I gave everything I could. I think the only workout that I have any frustration about was probably the wall ball workout. Like, I think I could have eked out a few more, but even a few more wasn't putting me in. Like, the guys that for me to move from 13th to 10th would have meant like 20 more wall ball. And there was no way, no way I was getting 20 more wall ball. And like that, everything.
Did you hear about the controversy of that workout though? Like, was there anybody, like, please tell me you looked at all the videos of the people that were ahead of you to make sure that they actually legit deserved to move on that death by? Cause that was a little sketchy.
You know,
Or do you try not to even go there?
yeah, that's I just assume that we're competing in I think as a competitor, you have to just kind of accept and assume that you're competing in an even playing field. Because even if I did go through everybody's video and find that they weren't throwing above the 11-foot line, or they got enough no reps to not let them through to the next 2-minute window, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think even had I done that, what's my recourse? When I got to email HQ, are they going to do anything about it? Probably not, right? So like, yeah, it's that workout that kept me out, but also like I got to just get better there. I got to work more on my wall ball capacity. Challenge accepted, right? Done. We'll work on it. So, but I made, I'll put it like this. Like I made huge strides in the things that I was weakest in this past year. And I'm super happy with the progress that I made athletically. I am not happy that I didn't get to go compete at the CrossFit Games. I think they should take 20. Like,
yeah.
I definitely, looking at the tests this year, at the games, like there are a couple that I would have done really well in, and there would have been some that would have really challenged me. And I would like to go out and test that. Yeah. But you know what? Looking at just the MFC workouts that have been released, this ruck run, like I am chomping at the bit to go do something like this. I've never, when our team was at the games, we didn't get to do the long run because we got cut right before the long run event.
Okay.
So I've never had a chance to do like a long run test at a live event. And I'm not the best runner in the world. I mean, I'm between 202 and 205. So I'm definitely not the lightest athlete that's going to be in the field out there. But I like running. Like I really enjoy it. And I like running with rucks. When my kids were younger, I'd always, if I was ever prescribed any running, I just pushed them in the stroller. Even when they were like 50 pounds, I'm like, and Dad, I don't want to get in the stroller. I'm like, get in the stroller.
Take a nap.
I'm pushing you. Get in the backpack. We're running.
That's great. Yeah, that's just for people's education. It is a 3-mile run, 1 mile unweighted, 1 mile with a rock, and then 1 mile unweighted. It's
like an Oreo.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, right. Double stuff.
The cream fillings in the middle with that, the sandbag. That's gonna be a rough workout.
And that's you don't know when it is yet either. So you don't know when in the weekend it is either.
No,
so I do.
I do know that it's gonna challenge me, and that's the whole purpose of going and doing this.
Right. Now, what's the other workout that's been released so far is
we've got an Echo bar muscle snatch workout. Yeah. Which when I first read, I thought was just the snatch weight. I thought it was one score.
Yep. No. So yeah, we haven't had our Zoom calls yet with the standards, but it is those, however many rounds it is. I think it's five rounds, maybe on a 3-minute clock, 2-minute clock, something like that. It's like 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. You got an Echo bike calorie cash in with like 3 bar muscle ups or 4 bar muscle ups.
I think ours is 6.
Yeah, 6. You're right. You're division 6. There's so many divisions and so many different iterations too. It's super hard to keep them.
Dude, I was looking. So I am coaching an athlete in the 55 to 59, and one in the 54 to 50.
Yeah, to 50 to 54. Yeah, I got you.
No, 50 to 54. Thank you.
In their 50s. Yes.
Yes. I have one athlete in each of those, and I think they got the adjustments for those divisions so right.
Yeah.
Contrast that to some of the stuff that we've seen from HQ in the past, some of the adjustments, and it's like, huh?
And we have a lot of input. Like we use Del Fontaine a lot to help us to sort of get those weights right. And all those guys that are running that show are masters athletes themselves.
Yeah.
Doing it. And CJ Martin, who programs all of that with Invictus, is just really in tune with what everybody's doing as well. So that one's going to be interesting. So it's your total time on the buy-ins for all 5 rounds. And then it's going to be your total weight lifted in the snatch. You have to do 3 snatches. You can choose any weight you want for any of the rounds. You can go up, down, whatever you want to do. And you're only allowed 1 no rep within those 3 snatches.
So
So in other
that
words,
was actually something I wasn't clear on. Is it
Yeah.
within each window, you're only allowed 1 miss,
correct.
not all 5 windows together?
Correct.
Okay,
Each
good.
window. So
Okay,
you
good.
have
Thank
4
you.
attempts to make 3 successful snatches. And if you make all 3, then whatever the weight on the bar is, that's your score for that round.
What an
Um,
interesting workout.
and if you miss it, then you get a 0 for that round,
So
right?
if you miss
if
all
you miss twice,
3, oh man.
you can do a snatch, you put it down. You can do a second snatch, put it down. You can miss the third one, put it down, and make the third, and then be fine. But if you miss twice, you get a 0.
This one's called speed kills, but it should be called like everything in moderation, because
Right.
if you
You gotta
go too
use it
fast,
wisely.
yeah, if you go too fast on the bike, you're screwed.
Yep.
If you go too heavy on the snatch, you're screwed. You go too light on the snatch, you're not gonna place well.
You're not gonna
Like,
maximize, right? And you only and you have a time constraint, so you have to like do it quickly. You can't just like stare at the bar either. You need to
See,
like be efficient.
this is why I hire coaches that are smarter than me to help me, because then I let them think through this, and I'll just go out there and do it. I'll go out there and race.
It's gonna be awesome. Are those the only 2 that we've released so far? That
There's
you know
one other.
about?
There's one other one.
Oh, it's a jump rope one.
Oh yeah.
So
Interesting.
we're bringing the Frevo rope from RX Smart Gear into the competition, and everybody's going to be doing. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but most everybody is going to do some kind of crossover movement,
Yeah,
a single crossover.
I've been
So that's
practicing.
fun.
I've been
I used to be
practicing.
able to do I used to do those all the time as a kid. I clearly don't have the right rope because I'm using like just my regular speed rope, and I am
Yeah, I
beating
can't.
myself
I
to death.
can't do them with a speed rope. But
Yeah.
we had at TTT, we had someone come in and do a jump rope clinic a couple years ago and gave us all beaded ropes.
Oh, cool. So you have
So
to
I had
practice.
a beaded rope, but I had cut it down for my oldest daughter because she liked to do her single unders with that one. And so I've got this rope that comes up to like my
And you're
bottom.
practicing like
Yeah,
this.
I'm practicing my crossovers. Like, I can't wait to get there and use one of the new Frevo ropes and have something that's an appropriate size.
That's great.
Yeah, I have one of those Frevo ropes. They are awesome.
I can't wait.
It's going to be that's going to be an interesting workout, because it's really like the handstand walking speed matters, but then it's just coming down to accuracy. CrossFit wants to test accuracy. There's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're in a new venue this year too. So the old venue that when you went the first year, we were over at the baseball stadium doing that snatch run workout. Yep. And we were in that different convention center. So now we're in the Coliseum, we're all in one spot, which is nice. Minus, you heard there might be some kind of an aquatic event, right?
Yes,
like that's
I did.
Not a surprise to you.
I saw the Instagram live yesterday, and they're very clear. We're doing something in the water. I like water.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be right up your alley. We should probably just give that one to you. Just
tell
your competitors to not even show up.
You know what? So everyone always jokes. They're like, "Oh, there's a swim event. Kyle automatically wins." I did not win the row, swim, run at Wadapalooza this past year. There was a guy in the 35 to 39 division he was a swimmer and still is a swimmer, like still competing actively as a master swimmer and a master's CrossFitter. And he was out of the water way ahead. I was catching him on the run. I'm not a runner. I'm a swimmer. How'd you beat? And he was crushing the swim. And I tried to close the gap on the run, but there wasn't enough ground to make up on those assault runners.
How did that feel, having someone beat you in a swim workout? Like, you're probably
surprising,
not used to that, right?
Surprising to say the least, because I strategized that entire workout based around the fact that I'd be able to pass. So I have a relaxed row. I pass everybody on the swim, and then I'm a strong runner. So I just, I try and finish strong on the run. And I got out of the water and I was like, he's already on the runner. Like, this changes the game.
Yeah.
So I was booking it on the run, but the one thing I will say, like with CrossFit swim events, I've actually never had a good history in CrossFit swim events except for the MFC one from 2020. Mm-hmm. I did Wadapalooza back in 2014, and it was actually the same Wadapalooza swim, row, run, but it's just in a different order. Yeah, it was just a different order. It was swim, then row, then run. And I swam way too hard in that one, trying to get a huge lead into the row. And then I rowed way too hard, and I got massive quad cramps on the run and basically limped the last half of the mile. So I had this, 90+ second lead coming off the rower, and I ended up like 12th because I could barely run. So like I have a love-hate history with swim events and CrossFit. I'm super, despite the fact that I spent all that time swimming, I'm super prone to leg cramps while I'm swimming.
Okay. Well, we'll be on the lookout.
Yeah, that could.
There's gonna be a lifeguard there, so you'll be all right.
It could easily come to bite me while we're in a swim event.
Oh, I think you'll be good. Is Haley coming out with you?
Unfortunately, Haley is not going to be able to make it. We couldn't get anyone to come watch the kids for this weekend. Normally, we have either my parents or her parents come watch the kids. And so that the two of us can go, and she's so awesome.
I'd like to meet her.
takes care of food, takes care of, like, she's the coordinator, the ultimate coordinator. So no, I'm gonna be flying solo this time. I actually haven't done that. I couldn't tell you the last time I competed and she wasn't there. So this is a whole new environment for me.
All right. Well, I can mom on you a little bit if you need me to.
I'm gonna try. My older brother lives 45 minutes away from the venue, and I'm gonna be like, hey, Mike, come baby me all weekend.
You like? That's great.
Like, I need you to cook.
Food, right?
Cook me food. Drive me to and from the venue.
You'll be good. And you said you're coaching a couple people there too, right? So you'll have like a little bit of a posse.
Yeah, we got a good group. And then I obviously know Eamon really well because I coach Eamon. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. God, thank you. Someone who recognizes the challenge that gentleman presents.
Well, let's just yeah. So I mean I'm his right hand gal for lots of things in life. So I know, Eamon and I are.
Whatever he doesn't want to do, he gives to Kat.
That's what Scott says. Yeah, pretty much. So
that's my opinion.
We work well together. It's a love relationship for sure. All right. We're coming up on an hour, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. And I love that we didn't get too deep into your background and things, because that allows you to come back again and we can talk some more about what's happening. But we'll see you at MFC for sure. And, maybe we'll be doing a follow-up with, all the champions of their age groups, and we'll invite you back.
That's going to be a big challenge. There's some good dudes coming this year.
You never know. You never know.
You want to know my dark horse in my own division?
Sure.
All right. So we know who the games champ is, right? But there's a guy who finished one spot ahead of me in the age group semifinal, right?
And he's
Look him
gonna
up.
be there?
Yes, he's going to be there. Look him up. He's really, really good.
What's his name?
Oh man, of course you're putting me on the spot. I'm so bad. I'm so bad with names. I literally talk to him all the time too. Oh, Chris Clyde. Wow.
Oh, he's from Delaware. I live in Delaware. He's like 10 minutes from me. I know Chris very well.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. He's my dark horse pick to give the top podium spot a run for its money. Okay. I guess a lot of it just depends on, how much of an off season is he in? Because I know, like, I took a really serious off season this past year. I had some tweaks I had to heal up. So, I know a lot of guys were in that same boat. Even the games champ. See, his name escapes me too, and I talk to him all the time as well.
I'm not up on that division either.
He had a shoulder thing he needed to heal up, and so, like, everyone, it's just part of competing as a 35 to 39-year-old. That
I know Chris Clyde was in Key West last weekend at a wedding, so
he wasn't training
last weekend.
I was just out in Washington at a concert, so
Come on, guys, time to get ready for this one.
Yep.
Are you doing any other off-season stuff, Kyle?
No, I made the decision that this was going to be my one off-season thing because, like I said, there are missing pieces to the puzzle that need to get filled in. There's some I got to build some more conditioning. I got to do a lot more Metcons. I got to do a lot more CrossFit. See, you guys, you told us what your workouts were when we started, and notice that you guys did Metcons. You know what I did this morning? I did what I love to do, which is to get on those ergs and just
monostructural stuff. Yeah.
Do my monostructural stuff.
Grind.
Yeah.
Brian Wong won.
Yes. Thank you. Brian Wong. Yes. Brian is
right here in Ohio.
He's a threat.
If anyone knows his Instagram, could you send it my way? Because I have it. Oh, you have it? Because I wanted to ask him to be on the podcast too, and I couldn't find him on social. So
I'm actually friends with him, so I can reach out.
Yeah.
All right. Get him on the show. Let's go. Okay.
He's
cool.
He's really strong. we're going to see some huge, if we have the
It's gonna be
opportunity to
fun.
see big lifts, we're going to see
Yeah.
huge lifts out of him. It's awesome.
It's gonna be a fun weekend for sure. All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, and, we'll be cheering you on. Like I said, if you need anything, let me know, and, we'll see you again back on here soon, hopefully.
Sounds great.
All right?
Yeah, see you there, Kyle.
Bye, guys.
Hold on, I gotta do something.